Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about order of operations. Order of operations is something we're going to be using all year long, so it's one of those foundational pieces that we need. If you don't have your calculator, you always want to have that. And let's go ahead and get started right now. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about order of operations. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Make sure you've got your calculator with you, and let's get started now. We're going to start by talking about the acronym that we're going to be using to solve the order of operations. We're going to be using the acronym GEMS. I'm sure you've heard the acronym PEMDAS before. However, we're going to be using more things when we're doing order of operations now. They're going to get more complicated, so we need to have a better way of understanding what we're going to be doing. So we're going to start with G, and that's going to be talking about grouping symbols. And now our grouping symbols are going to include lots of things. They're going to have parentheses. They're going to have braces. They're going to have brackets. When we have all these things, we want to remember that we're going to be working inside out. So whenever you have grouping symbols, you're going to be working at the thing that's the most inside first and then working out. So if you have both parentheses and braces, you'll have the parentheses inside, and you'll do those first before working on the things outside in the braces. The next thing that we need to talk about is E, or the exponents and square roots. So both exponents and square roots are going to be done at the same time. So for example, an exponent looks like this, b to the fourth. A square root looks like the square root of 4. And when we're talking about exponents and square roots, we want to remember that we're going to work left to right. We're talking about M, we're going to be talking about multiplication and division. We have lots of different symbols for multiplication and division. We've got our X for multiplication, our dot, our slash for division, our division symbol. And remember, when we have both multiplication and division in a problem, we're going to work left to right. So even if the division is on the left, we're going to be doing that first because multiplication and division are the same level in the order of operations. They are on the same level, so we do the one that is on the left first, even if that's division. So even if division is in the same problem as multiplication, the one on the left is the one that gets done first. Then we've got S, so we're going to call that subtraction and addition. And again, we're going to be working left to right. So even if the subtraction is the thing on the left, that's the thing we're going to do first because subtraction and addition come on the same level of order of operations. Let's take a look at our first example. So here we are at example A. In an example, I've got 19 minus the square root of 256 times negative 2. So while I'm working on this problem, I want to remember that I'm going to be using GEMS as I go along, and I also want to make sure that I'm copying everything down about the things that I am not touching. So first I'm going to take a look. Are there any grouping symbols? I don't see any grouping symbols here, so I can ignore that. Next, I've got exponents and square roots, and it does look like I have a square root. I have the square root of 256. That's the thing I'm going to be doing first. But before I do that, I want to copy everything else down that I'm not doing. So I'm going to bring down my 19 minus, I'm going to bring down my multiplication symbol, and I'm going to bring down my negative 2 or minus 2. However you want to look at it, it means the same thing. So now that I've copied everything else down that I'm not doing, I'm going to copy down the square root of 256. And since the square root of 256 is 16, I'm going to write down 16. All right, so now I've got the next level of the problem. I've got 19 minus 16 times negative 2. So I'm going to go to the next level in GEMS, and that's going to be multiplication and division. I do have multiplication and division. I've got 16 times negative 2, so that's the next thing I'm going to be doing. But before that, I'm going to copy everything down that I'm not doing. So I'm going to bring down my 19, bring down my minus sign or my negative sign, however you want to look at it. Then I'm going to do 16 times negative 2, and 16 times negative 2 is negative 32. So I'm going to write that down. All right, let's take a look at the next step. So it looks like now all I have is addition or subtraction. I've got subtraction in this place. I've got 19 minus 32 or 19 minus negative 32. You can type that straight in your calculator. You can type 19 minus negative 32 and it will give you the correct answer. I'm going to remember my integer rules and I'm going to go, all right, negative is going to give me a plus. So then I'm going to end up with 19 plus 32 as the next step in my problem. So then I'm going to add 19 and 32. And when I do that, I get 51. So my final answer is 51. I want to make sure that I circle it so that my teacher can easily find it on my paper. Let's go ahead and take a look at example B. Here we are in example B, and I've got some parentheses, I've got some exponents, I've got some multiplication division, I've got everything here except addition and subtraction, it looks like. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start with grouping symbols. So I've got my 24 divided by 6 times 2 all on the inside and to the third power on the outside. So that's the thing I'm not going to worry about because I'm going to be working inside out. I've got division and multiplication inside, and since division is on the left, it's the thing I'm going to be doing first. So I'm going to underline that because that's the thing I'm going to be doing first. And now I'm going to copy everything else down exactly as I see it. So I'm going to copy down my parentheses. I'm going to copy down my multiply times 2. Copy down my other parentheses. Copy down my third power. All right, now I'm going to do 24 divided by 6, which gives me 4. So I'm going to bring down my 4 and put it inside my parentheses. So now I still have something to do inside my parentheses. I have to do my 4 times 2 because that's inside my parentheses. I'm not going to worry about my exponent yet because that's on the outside. 4 times 2 is 8. So I'm going to bring down my parentheses, bring down my 8, bring down my parentheses, bring down my third power. All right, now the only thing I have left to do is 8 to the third power. So again, I can type that straight in my calculator. I could do 8 times 8 times 8, or I can use the power button to raise it to the third power. That's the y with the little x at the top. So I can do 8 to the third power, and 8 to the third power gives me 512. So I'm going to write down 512 and I'm going to circle it on my paper so that my teacher can easily find my answer. And that brings us to the end of this problem. So let's go ahead and take a look at example C. So here we are at example C, and wow, that is a order of operations problem for sure. We have lots of things to do here, so let's go ahead and get started with our gems. So the first thing we're going to be doing is looking at our grouping symbols. We've got two grouping symbols here. We've got braces and we've got parentheses. So we need to remember to work inside out. So I'm going to look at the parentheses. They're the most inside, so I'm going to underline that. That's the thing I'm going to be working on. And now I'm going to copy everything else down before I do that. So I'm going to copy down my braces, my 2 to the 4th power, my plus 8, my minus, I'm not quite sure yet. I'm going to bring down my bracket on the other side, divided by negative 2. 6 times 3 is 18, so I'm going to write that down. If you're not sure, you could always use your calculator. Better to use your tools than to get the problem wrong. Let's go ahead and take a look. Now we've got braces. I've got 2 to the 4th power plus 8 minus 18. So since I'm working inside my braces, I need to figure out what comes next. I've got addition, subtraction, and an exponent. So my exponent is the thing that's going to happen next. So I'm going to copy everything else down. I'm going to leave a space there for whatever that is. Plus 8 minus 18, bring down my brace, divided by negative 2. So now I need to do 2 to the 4th power in my calculator. So I can either do 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, or I can use 2 to the raised power there, that y to the x button, 2 to the 4th. And when I do that, I should get 16. That makes sense. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So now I've got everything inside my braces, and I've got pluses and minuses, so I'm going to work left to right. You could just type in 16 plus 8 minus 18 straight in your calculator. That will work too, but we're going to go one step at a time here so we don't get lost. I'm going to underline the 16 plus 8. We're going to be working left to right inside our braces. So 16 plus 8 is 24. So 24 minus 18 is what's left inside my braces, divided by negative 2. Now I've got only one thing inside my braces left, 24 minus 18, and 24 minus 18 is 6. So I'm going to bring down my 6. I don't need my braces anymore because there's only one number left. Divide by negative 2, and there's only one thing to do left. So 16 divided by negative 2 is going to give me negative 3. And you can type that straight in your calculator if you're not sure. Hopefully you followed all the steps, copying everything down just as I did. And let's take a look at the last example. Here we are, our final example, and you notice something different about this problem immediately. It is a fraction, a giant fraction. We have both a top and a bottom. When we have these type of problems, we're going to treat that as a grouping symbol, that giant bar there, or the giant fraction symbol. So we're going to do everything on the top first, then we're going to do everything on the bottom, and then we'll divide. So let's start with the top. I've got negative 5 plus 2 times 5th to the 2nd power. I'm going to be doing my exponent first in this case, so I'm going to copy everything else down. Negative 5 plus 2 times 5 to the 2nd power, which is 25. Copy everything else down at the bottom. Negative 3 times 5. All right, let's go to the next step. I've got negative 5 plus 2 times 25. So again, I'm going to be doing the multiplication first. Copy everything else down. Negative 5 plus 250, 250, regular 50, over negative 3 times 5. Now I'm going to be doing the last step on the top. Negative 5 plus 50 is going to be 45. And again, I'm going to copy everything else down. Negative 3 times 5. So I've done everything on the top now and simplified that to 45. So now I just have to do the bottom of the problem. So I've got negative 3 times 5. So I'm going to have 45 on the top. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. So now I just have a fraction that I need to simplify, or I need to divide the top by the bottom. So 45 divided by negative 15, I can do that right in my calculator if I'm not sure, is negative 3. And I'm going to circle that so my teacher can easily find it on my paper. And that brings us to the end of this problem. And it brings us to the end of this video. So if you go ahead and like this video, go ahead and throw us a thumbs up. If you love this video, go ahead and throw us a sub, and we will catch you in the next one.